Hello, Kim here from Keep Fit with Kim and Pilates in Pyjamas. Today's workout is a beginner's core workout. So we're going to talk about the core and how to engage it, and we're going to do some basic exercises that can be advanced. So if you're a more experienced exerciser, you will still get some benefit from this workout. All you need is space of your mat, bare feet please, or socks. Make sure you're not going to slip. Let's get started. We're going to start with our general posture. So I want you to stand with your feet hip width apart. Actually, let's start with the feet together. Toes out, heels out. Gives you an approximation of hip width apart. The heels are directly underneath the ankles. Feet are pointing forward, so they're parallel rather than turning out. I want you to really think here about where your pelvis is as well. So some of you are going to stand, I'm going to exaggerate here, with your bottom sticking out. I want you to tuck that under and stand tall. If you stand forward on your hips, you need to pull them back. Now, a way of telling that is have a quick look down, check that you can see your ankles. If you're standing forward, you're not going to see your ankles, so pull back. Now stand upright. And let's take the shoulders up, back, and relax them down. Fingertips in line with the seam of your trousers. So although this isn't related directly to the core, I want our body to be in the best posture we can. Retract the chin, so pulling the chin back. Think about lengthening through the back of the neck. Now let's think about the core, about the abdominal muscles rather than the core, because the core isn't just your abdominals. It's the erector spinal muscles, which are the spine muscles, and the muscles of the pelvis. So it's not just your tummy. So when we say engage your core, pulling your belly button in isn't the only thing we need to do. Weight is evenly between both feet, and what I want you to do is pull the belly button back in without moving the back. So if you take your hand onto your lower back, if that's comfortable, and just keep the back still as you pull the belly button in. But you're going to pull the muscles in the side in as well, as if you're pulling up a slightly tight pair of jeans. So you're feeling the muscles in the side engage. We will do this in a 4-point kneeling position, because that way you're going to be fighting against gravity a little bit, but pulling that in. Now what I'm going to do now, in that position, I want you to make sure you're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Keep breathing. Now relax those shoulders, watch they haven't dropped forward. And what I'm going to get you to do is work on a little bit of pelvic stability here. So we're working on keeping the hips as level as possible. So with the shoulders relaxed, place the hands on the top of your hips, on the side of your hips, so that you can feel what's going on with your pelvis here, or the hips. Okay? Come up onto both toes. Now, I'm going to come up quite a long way. I've got short feet. I've got fairly good balance. Doesn't matter how high you are. It doesn't have to be this high. And then you're going to drop one heel at a time, lift and lower. So here, I want you to concentrate as well on trying to keep the ankles in alignment. So if your ankles are wobbling all over, make that movement smaller. But the main concentration is what's going on here. As you lift and lower, are you coming up and down with your hips? If you see, if I do, I'm going to exaggerate that. My arms come, elbows move. You should be able to feel very little movement in the hands as you lift this movement. So that belly button's pulled back against the spine and we're lifting. We're getting a bit of work elsewhere as well, obviously. But when you come to the end, I want you to come back, weight evenly on both feet. So again, if you're on one side, immediately that central core is out of balance. So coming back centre, weight evenly on both feet. Okay, coming up again. Once more. So we're really here trying to move only the feet, isolated movement, and you're engaging the core muscles to try and keep that pelvis still. Now I find that very easy. You might not. If you're not, practice that one. If you're fine, then you can move on and concentrate on the next exercises. What I'm going to do first of all is do a little bit more movement to warm up through the body even. So a little bit of hip movement. I've taken the legs wider so that I can get some mobility in the spine. I'm doing a figure of 8. If you're happier, you can do hip circles. I'm going round one side and then the other, just to get some movement. Change direction if you're doing circles. A little bit of side to side, just to get that movement in there. Let's tip the pelvis under and release. Engage the core and breathe in. Breathe out and in. You want to keep the breath going all the way through. We try and avoid holding breath. Good to hold your breath. Get some oxygen into the body. And I'm going to get you to come down now onto the floor. You can Pilates roll down if you want, but just come down however is comfortable for you. I'm going to come into a 4-point kneeling. Now I'm going to ask you to watch me first so that you can see without straining your neck. We're going to come onto all fours. Knees directly under the hips, hands directly under the shoulders. So you have choices here. Hands pointing forward ideally. If that's not good for your wrists, if you're struggling there, because the weight should be forward into those hands, you can come up onto your fist, or you can roll up a towel or something underneath, which will take the angle off those muscles. Now from there, I want you to be really aware. You want to look down between your hands. Watch you're not straining your neck, having it upward or anything. You're looking straight down. You're not got your weight all the way back. The weight is forward into the hands, evenly between the hands and the knees. And what I want you to do is just do that movement again, pulling up and release. Pulling the belly button up and release. Take a couple of breaths, just make sure that you are breathing. So again, I'm looking up at the camera, but I want you to keep looking down between your hands. So again, you might want to come out of that position, sit back onto your heels just to see what I'm doing. What I want you to do next is engage your core, so pulling the belly button up, make sure you're breathing. And I just want you to lift one hand and take it down again. Lift the other. Be really aware of what's going on with your core. So I'm not asking you to slide an arm forward, because if you really are a beginner, or your core is weak, although it's also issues with the shoulder that might affect this, if your core is weak, you're going to feel that in your tummy. So that's the base movement from there. Again, so if you just be aware that if you've got shoulder issues, this will cause a problem there. That is actually, for me, easier than lifting up in this position. That I can really feel the tummy each side here working, and your spine. So I want you to be aware here as well that you're not letting the back arch down, that you're pulling your belly in, that you've got your neutral spine. Now, I'm going to go to the legs, exactly the same thing. Stretch back, circle out your wrists if you need to. If not, you can keep doing those arm floats or cat. How do you pull this? So from there, watch if you need to. We're going to take the legs back to a little slide and in. So what I want you to do here is make sure that you're just sliding your foot along your mat. We're not lifting. You're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. The core engaged, just sliding that leg away and back in. So it seems like a really simple movement, but just really pay attention to your tummy muscles and your back and what's happening in that core area. What's happening with your pelvis. A lot of people, when they do this exercise, lift their hip up. It's really hard to keep it stable. I'm going to look at the video later. There's a fairly good chance that I'm not doing it perfectly either. The slower you do it, the harder it is. So slow it down. We really want to work that core. Now once you've got that, you can start thinking about lifting the leg. But no point going there if you can't do the simple version. Again, I find an awful lot of people who do Pilates who have a weak core will immediately go on to the harder exercise, because doing the harder version fast or incorrectly is actually sometimes easier than doing the easy version properly. So those of you that find it is stable, you can start lifting the leg slightly. Really think about sliding that knee along the mat until it comes away by itself, so that the pelvis is still as possible. Now let's stretch back. Give your wrists a bit of a rest if you need to. And we're going to do the two together, arm and leg. So here, very easy to tilt and alignment. Coming back, arm and leg. So first of all, just slide the fingertips and the knee as far as they'll go, foot stays on the floor. And then if you can, lift. And be really aware of what's going on with your core. Hold. Try and hold that as still as you can. Try and keep that back as level as you can. Shoulders should be parallel with the floor, so should the hips. I'm not guaranteeing I'm perfect in this one. Something we need to do all the time. So again, change sides. Slide that knee and the fingers away. Get that strength in the core first before you even think of any lifting, and then lift and hold. Well done. If you need to stretch your wrists out again, you can either pull onto the back of the hand and pull back, or do the wrist circles and have a rest, but let's do the same. We're going to do two more on each side. So slide away first. Make sure you've got that core, that the weight's evenly between the other hand and knee, the supporting hand and knee. And then, if you can, lift and hold. Be really aware, keep breathing. If you start to wobble, it's time to come back down. You might not hold the second one or the third one anywhere near as long. Gently sliding away, keep it slow. And lift. And hold. Going back. Rest in between if you need to. We're going to do one more each side. Slide away first. And then lift. So we're not reaching here. This really is just a lift and hold. We're trying to challenge the centre of the body, the core, by adding levers, so lengthening the arms away from the body, adding weight. Coming back centre. Again, watch your positioning, very easy to slide back and taking the weight back. Stick something under your hands if you need to. Coming up, hold. And coming back. And rest. Let's just stretch back. Stretch those arms out in front. Stretch through your shoulders. It's surprising how much you can get from a very simple exercise. So I'm going to come on to the back now. So there we were working the core, but the pelvis. So you would have felt that in your tummy as you did the lengthening exercises, because your tummy was trying to stop your back from dropping down. I'm going to now work on the back, which is going to work a little bit of the buttocks. You're going to find your hamstrings may kick in. Really try and relax the back of your thighs, your hamstrings. Bring the feet as close to your bottom as possible. You're going to lengthen that neck out, open up across the shoulders, relax the arms down. Now, for beginners, if you struggle with this, you can put your arms down on the mat and try and avoid pushing into the mat. If you're a little bit more advanced and you've been exercising for a while, or you want to challenge yourself, you can take the arms across the chest, feet close to the buttocks. Watch you've not got the knees squeezed together, so a little bit of gap, feet hip width apart. Remember, feet together, toes out, heels out, approximation, feet pointing forward. And you're going to come up into a bridge. So try and relax the back of the thighs there. Now, from this position, what I would really like you to do, if you can, is place your hands on these bony protrusions on the top of your hips, on the front here, and feel. Again, try and avoid putting the elbows down if you can. And what I want you to do is keep the pelvis as still as possible. Now, if it's too much already, if you're finding you're wobbling on your hips, just come back down and rest and join back in when you're ready. But for those of you that are quite comfortably stable here, first of all, make sure your hamstrings, the back of your thighs that is, are relaxed. And what I want you to do is keeping the hip stable, lift the heel off the ground, and then take it down. Heel only at the moment, lifting the heel. What's going on with your pelvis? So you're lifting up quite high. Try and keep the buttocks and the back of the legs relaxed. Just lifting and lowering. Is this staying still? If your hip is dropping or hitching up, then you don't want to go any further than this movement. Get this nice and strong. Your hands back down. Feel what's going on in your tummy here. Is that nice and secure? Is it nice and stable? Is there any movement? If your tummy's popping up, I doubt it will here, but if it is popping up, you feel movement in muscles just inside of those hip bones, then you need to keep with the easy version. Okay, from there, those that can float the leg. Now here, it's very easy to let that hip drop. So if you can, come to this. If you need to rest, rest. So I'm going to show you, if I get it wrong, my hip's dropping down. I'm trying to keep that hip stable. Taking the knee in towards the chest, and down. And then rest. Let's just hug those knees in one at a time. A little bit of a rest. Well done. So that was the beginning of those exercises. I've got one more exercise for you today. Feet, again hip width apart, but you're going to slide the feet a little bit further away. And I'm looking for, you can come up and sit up and watch. I'm looking for more like a 90-degree angle here. Instead of the feet being here, they're a long way away. And you're going to move just from the hip. So extending the head, a nice long neck. Arms relaxed down to the side. And I want you to bring one knee up into tabletop and take it back down. So you're bringing the leg up so that it's almost, you can put a tray on it, knees above the hip. Take it back down without bending the knee. Now, what I want you to do here is feel what's going on in the core. So again, you've got the bony protrusions, just come in a little bit, feel with the fingers what's going on here. Is there any movement in that area? Breathing as you do this, breathe out as you take the leg down, breathe in as you bring it up. Now, next thing to do is take the fingertips under the back. You should have a neutral spine. So you should have a little bit of gap underneath the back. Pelvis should be level. I've done that in previous workouts, but you've got that diamond shape that is level, the pelvis is level. Hand under the back, feel if there's any movement in the back. If there is, you don't want to be moving on from this exercise until you get the exercise. Do the exercise even without that movement. So if you've got that working nicely and there is no movement, I'm going to ask you to take one leg up and hold. Now, really feel just inside that position here, just inside from those bony protrusions. Take the fingertips there. If you then start to lift the leg up, does your tummy, do these muscles start to bulge, dome upwards? If they are, it's too much. You need to be going back to the easier version. Taking it here. Okay. So I'm going to stay with here because if you truly are a beginner, actually bringing that second leg up is going to cause that area to pop if your abdominals are weak. Let's bring both these in anyway. Now let's take them both to tabletop. Now, again, put the fingers in that position, feel what's going on. And I want you to stretch the leg away. And again, be aware of what's going in the core. Is that doming happening? Are those muscles just inside the pelvis doming upwards? We want those muscles to be flat. You don't want a belly that's sticking out. We want nice strong muscles, but we want them in a flattened position. So I've got my leg to that sort of position. You might find that in order to stop the doming happening, you have to have that leg a little bit higher. Doesn't matter if it's not straight, I just want you to challenge those muscles in your core. Hug the knees in. Well done, that's all for today. I'm just going to do a little bit of stretch through the core to finish off. Hands together above the head, just reaching up and stretch through the tummy. And release. A little bit of a twist side to side. Well done, that was our beginner's core. Anyone who is more advanced Work on those. I've given you some ideas how to move it on. Is your core as strong as you think it is? Are those muscles popping up? A lot of us will find that the abdominal muscles particularly are not as strong as we think they are. I'll be back again with another Pilates workout for you next week. Bye for now.